I guess P. Diddy or Diddy is not the only one who's in hot water. Well, guess what? The former Abercrombie CEO Mike Jeffries is arrested, charged in sex trafficking case. According to prosecutors charged Jeffries with coercing aspiring male models into sex act by plying them with Viagra and blocking the exits. Oh my gosh. Mike Jeffrey used his hypersexualized marketing and shirtless male models to create buzz for Abercrombie and Fitch. Prosecutors say he was also using his status to coerce aspiring models into having sex with him and his romantic partners. Jeffrey was arrested Tuesday and charged with running an international sex trafficking ring while he was Abercrombie's chief executive, according to federal indictment that listed 15 John Doe's victims. The indictment alleges that from 2008 to 2015, Jeffries pressured models into attending sex parties in locations around the world, paying the men for their involvement and playing them with music, relaxants, Viagra, lubricant, and sex toys. Prosecutors from the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's State Office, which brought the case, said Jeffries misled some of his victims into thinking they were attending model shoots rather than sex parties. The executive went so far as to include Abercrombie products in the sex parties, they said. Some of his victims felt pressured to participate to avoid harming their careers, according to the indictment. Brian Bieber, a lawyer for Jeffries, said his client would respond to the allegations in the courthouse, not the media. Matthew Smith, Jeffrey's longtime romantic partner, which is a guy, of course, and James Jacobson, an employee of the couple, were also arrested and charged with 16 criminal counts, including sex trafficking and interstate prostitution. Lawyers for Smith and Jacobson couldn't be reached for comment. Jeffries and Smith, who were arrested in Florida, were expected to appear in the federal court later Tuesday. Jacobson was arrested in Wisconsin. The arrest follows a BBC investigation in 2023 and a civil lawsuit where male models alleged that Jeffries used promises of a job at Abercrombie to lure young men to locations around the world and coerce them to have sex with him and others. Abercrombie said in 2023 that it had hired an outside law firm to conduct an independent investigation into the allegations and that the company was appalled and disgusted by them. The company declined to comment on Tuesday. Federal prosecutors alleged that Jeffries relied on a network of employees, contractors, and security personnel to operate the sex trafficking ring and keep his prostitution business a secret. The sex parties occurred in his New York residence, as well as the hotels in England, France, Italy, and Morocco. On some occasions, the complaint says Jeffries and Smith injected men in their penises with a prescription-grade erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts in which they were otherwise physically incapable or unwilling. Jacobson, the employee, was tasked with recruiting, interviewing, and hiring the men for the parties, according to prosecutors. Jacobson would hold tryouts with recruits, requiring the victims to first have sex with him, the indictment says. The three defendants used burner phones to communicate, required victims to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and employed a security company to surveil and intimidate witnesses who threatened to expose their illegal acts, prosecutors said. A civil lawsuit was brought in 2023 by David Bradbury, who alleged that Jeffries victimized men with the help of a network of co-conspirators that included Abercrombie and Smith, who attended Abercrombie events and meetings. The suit estimated that dozens and likely over 100 young models were victims. Bradbury's lawyers also represented Jeffrey Epstein accusers. As we have said in our lawsuit, this is clear sex trafficking of the most heinous kind, said Brad Edwards, a lawyer representing Jeffrey's accusers. These arrests are a huge step towards justice for the many victims. Jeffries took the helm of Abercrombie in 1992 when it was part of the Leslie Waxner's retail empire, which included Victoria's Secret. Waxner hired the retail veteran to revamp what was then a money-losing brand that he had purchased in 1988. Waxner also hired Epstein as his financial advisor, a decision he later said he was a mistake. Under Jeffries' leadership, Abercrombie created a lookbook of ruse for stores and hired college students to staff them. The company used sexually themed ads and shirtless men greeters to create a cult following with teens who clamored for its logo emblazoned t-shirts and sweatshirts. The business boomed for several years, hitting an annual sales of $4.5 billion fiscal 2013, up from less than $1 billion before 2000. Jeffrey stepped down as CEO in 2014 following a string of poor results. Executives at Abercrombie, which also owns the Hollister brand, have worked to reinvent the Abercrombie brand since Jeffrey's departure. Since 2017, the CEO has been Fran Horowitz. The company's business has enjoyed a resurgence by distancing itself from its racy past. It did away with shirtless male models. I guess Diddy is not the only person that's doing this. Sex trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking. You see all these CEOs and high-profile men are doing it. So he learned it from somewhere. These people are learning it from someone. So, it's a lot of people will be found out. This is not going to end. You will see there will be more celebrities, more high-profile individuals, executives that step down because of sex trafficking and exploitation of, children or even adults. Basically, I'll pay you for playing with me or having sex with me. So again, Diddy is getting all this attention, but there's others that have been found out. There's other indictments for other executives, but Diddy is getting the most attention. Why? Because they released that Cassie's video. CNN released Cassie's video and it made major news. In this case, they didn't have any videos. Imagine if they had videos on this guy's Jeffries, they would probably make major news, but obviously it didn't. But again, what I say, yes, these models were victims, but they willingly engaged. They could have said no because, you're paying to play pretty much. You're exchanging something. Basically, you have sex with me and I'll give you opportunities. That's Hollywood. So they didn't have to say yes, but they did. So that's why God gives us a freedom of choice. For me, I remember when I was younger, I was 16 or 17 years old. This older man looked like he's in his 60s, wanted me to come to his car and was offering me money. As a 16-year-old, I said no, and I ran home. Again, we all have the option to say no. Now, if I was wanting money, desperately wanting money, I could have said yes and went in his car because he lured me in with money, right? But I said no. So again, a lot of these Me Too movements and people that wants to be in Hollywood, they will do anything in order to get that, meaning sleeping with the devil, doing things that they would normally not engage in because they want this opportunity. So again, I see them as victims, but I also see them as non-victims because they actually said yes and engaged in that activity. But now this Diddy train is coming, Me Too train is coming. Everybody wants to call themselves victims. I don't see them as entire victims, especially if you said yes. You had a choice. You could have walked away from the situation or you could have stayed. In this case, they wanted the opportunity to be a model and all that other stuff, and they stayed. Is it wrong? Of course it's wrong. But people need to say no and walk away from opportunities and money. They need to learn how to say no. Now, if it's a situation where they're forced into do it, of course, that was not a choice. But if you're giving a choice, either I'm going to give you an opportunity, but you have to do this for me, then you ultimately made that choice to proceed and do whatever. Okay? So again, we have to be mindful. We need to teach our children to say no. Adults need to learn how to say no. And these are consenting adults. They need to learn how to say no and not just run for opportunities. Because a lot of people asses were taken because they did not say no. They wanted the opportunities. So they were able to sacrifice their butthole for that opportunity. It's a fair exchange to me. It's a choice to me. So I don't see I can see both sides, but that person who's giving them that option is wrong. And the other person for saying yes, okay, is wrong too. Both sides are wrong. The worst side is the person that's, basically telling them they have to do this in order to get this, like Epstein and Weinstein's and stuff like that. But again, people need to learn how to say no and walk away from something, especially if they don't want to do it. You need to have some sort of dignity, integrity, self-respect for yourself. Anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, this is it.